morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. Yep, it's 2025, and hopefully things get a little bit better 2025 than they were in 2024. Not that things were bad, but it was a challenging year. And so here's hoping for a very good 2025 for all of you. All right, so let's get right to the games. 5 games last night, yesterday afternoon into the night. And I watched these 3. I watched the majority of the Port Huron Motor City game, but I was literally on the road still. I was still at work. Yes, and I watched. You put the camera right on your dash. It works. Anyway, don't attempt that at home. All right, Binghamton hosts the HC Venom for a sellout crowd, and that's a tradition in Binghamton, the New Year's Eve games. So, yeah, good crowd on hand. Binghamton takes it to the Venom, who were shorthanded, only 14 skaters. No Norika, no Jasso. That's kind of a problem. All right, so the game starts off. We get into it. Connor McAnanima in 1 goal, and John Moriarty with a fixed nameplate. He's in goal for the Venom. So it's Gavin Yates getting on the board first, 4:51, unassisted. Tyson Kirkby follows suit at 12:56, unassisted. Binghamton just pours on the shots. 24-6 is the shots after 1 period, and Binghamton is up 2-0. So Moriarty, the loss isn't on him. Second period, we had a carousel of minor penalties going on. Binghamton ends up in a little bit of penalty trouble. 2 men in the box, or in the infraction chamber. And that doesn't matter. Dakota Bond scores on a breakaway, shorthanded, 3-on-5. Second year in a row, he's scored a 3-on-5 goal. Makes it 3-0. So at the end of 2, the shots are now 43-19 in favor of Binghamton. It was just like a no mercy type of thing. Third period, it's Tyson Kirkby scoring shorthanded once again. 15 seconds in, we had Dakota Bond scoring this time on the power play at 8:16, and it's 5-0, and everyone, including myself, is thinking, is McAnanima going to get a second straight donut? Nope. Dennis Zychek makes sure that does not happen. He scores just 10 seconds after Bond had scored that power play goal. Very quick response goal. That ends the donut. And then at 11:03, Danila Belov scores. It's now 5-2. Now everybody's like, Binghamton, tighten up that defense. Third period, it is Don Oliveri scoring on the power play, 14:03. And then at 15:23, Caden Henry puts the extra point on the touchdown, and it's a 7-3 win. So, yeah, the win goes to Connor McAnanima, stopping 30 of 32 shots, and Moriarty, 55 saves on the night. You can't expect much more from him. He played great. So Binghamton Black Bears improved to 23-1. The HC Venom, 6-10-1. If you're interested, Binghamton Black Bears fans, the magic number to clinch the division for Binghamton is now 82. Yeah, we have a magic number. Anyway, so that was that game. We go down south, Mississippi Seawolves taking on the Athens Rock Lobsters, and this was kind of the surprise of the night, really. Starts off as most people expected. Now, Ed Coffey was in goal, and Coffey has been known to put in great performances already in his short FPHL career. He did it again yesterday. Josh Rosenzweig in nut for the Athens Rock Lobsters. I made a comment on the page about halfway through the game. Coffey was spending a whole lot of time on his back end. Didn't matter. He was making the saves. All right, so in the first period, Athens does score first. Is Garrett Milan. He's I think he leads the league for first goals of the game. This has got to be like his 7th or 8th goal. That it was the first goal of the game. Just incredible. So it's 1-0 at the end of one. Shots 19-4 in favor of Athens. Mississippi was just not allowed any time in the offensive zone. Athens did a great job clogging up the neutral zone and just keeping everything tilted downhill. But in the second period, 2:48, it's Dalton Anderson, and that's his 11th goal of the year for a Seawolves team that has been struggling to find offense, but Anderson is having a very good year. He ties things up. We get a little bit farther on, and Kaysen Gallant scores on the power play. I believe it was one of the times that Matt Stoyer was in the box. 5:26 was the time of that goal, so it's 2-1. 14:32. It is Blake Keller scoring on a breakaway. And it's a nice, nifty little move. He basically undresses Rosenzweig and ties things up at 2. So, yeah, at the end of 2, things were a little bit better in the second period for Mississippi offensively. They got 10 shots on goal. But again, to Athens 19. So, Coffey has already made 36 to 38 saves through 2 periods. He was outstanding. One of several great goalie performances last night. So third period, nothing happens. Overtime, there's a total of 5 shots on goal, 3 for Athens, 2 for Mississippi, but none of them were really anything to speak of. So we go to the shootout. And, again, Athens getting extended to extra time. 9th time in now 17 games. Mateen Rod made the point about, you're starting to lose points. You've dropped 6 points already this year by getting extended to overtime. You've ended up with points, but you've lost 6 points. Fortunately, they have all the games in hand that they do to kind of help out with that situation. They're still one of the best teams as far as points percentage. All right, so in the shootout, nothing doing in the first round. Milan scores on a sneaky little backhand, and then Rosenzweig makes a save. So Carter Shinkarik puts the exclamation point on things, but Milan gets the actual shootout winner. 3-2 Athens. They improved to 13-2-2, while Mississippi, they did at least get a point and did not totally waste a great goaltender performance by Ed Coffey. It is amazing. It's 53 saves, 55 opportunities, plus 1 in the shootout. Mississippi now 3-18-3, goals by Dalton Anderson and Blake Keller. And we had a little bit of an offensive show as Milan gets the goal, assists on Gallant's goal, and gets a shootout winner. And then Rosenzweig stops 20 of 22. Crowd on hand 37-38, and it's funny, they did a pan around of the crowd, and everybody was sitting on the sides. There was almost nobody behind the goals, big empty spaces over there, but sides were filled in real nice. So still, it's a good crowd. This is the first time Athens is playing New Year's Eve, and that's a decent turnout. All right, so for the final highlighted game or game detailed game, this was all over in a flash, and I was talking with play-by-play guy for the Moccasins, Pete Fricano, and he's like, "I can't believe this. We did not expect this. This was totally dominant," and it was. Monroe comes out fired up and just hands it uh, to Baton Rouge. And Colgan is involved in another shutout. Unfortunately, this time it's not him. It is Sean Kuhn that gets the shutout. So what happened? I don't know, but the Moccasins came out in the first period like their pants were on fire, and they were just flying. Crazy, crazy energy. They outshoot the Zydeco 17-9 in that first period. 4 goals. Declan Conway. I'm sorry, it's Chris Corrigan scoring 524. It's Declan Conway scoring a 726. Kyle Heitzner just gets signed by the Moccasins. Of course, he had a great October/November in Watertown. Gets traded, and Watertown finds out what they're missing as Heitzner contributes to the offense. And Scott Coash scores just a minute 14 later on the power play. So it's 4-0 at the end of one. Second period, the Zydeco just could not generate much defensively. And part of that was Rasmus Asp, signed by the Moccasins, was playing for the Venom. He was a huge participant in shutting down any kind of chances for the Zydeco. Didn't have a stat sheet night, but defensively, he was awesome. And he inspired his other fellow defensemen, I think, too. So shots in the second period, 11-6 in favor of the Mocs, and they get 2 more goals. Blake Anderson scores at 3:14, and Declan Conway scores his second of the night at 10:03. That was it for the scoring in the third period. Things settle down. The teams are kind of at an understanding. Look, the game's pretty much over. Let's just play this out. Shots were only 7-6. There was one big moment, and I want to talk about it. So 5:58. Matt Bazarin. I will admit, I am not a fan of Matt Bazarin. I enjoy watching most of the players in the Fed. Bazarin's not one of them. However, I will say that he got a raw deal. It's flying down the wing along the boards, and Thomas McGuire decides to lunge out, cross-check Bazarin in the face. Bazarin responds by dropping the gloves, forcing McGuire to answer the bell. Gets an aggressor penalty and a game misconduct. Bogus. I'm sorry, it was bogus, and that's because of his bad reputation. Yes, he has earned that bad reputation, but in this case, this was a wrong call. It should have been 5 for fighting. That's it. McGuire gets 2 minutes for roughing or cross-checking, and that's it. So, it's unfortunate that reputations seem to carry a lot of weight in the eyes of the officials in this league. That's all I'll say. All right, so Colgan still, he stops 33, but 6 get behind him. Sean Kuhn, 24 for 24. He earns the first donut of the night. And yes, a season high crowd in the Fed for the Moccasins, 57-33 on hand. It was standing room only. There was tons of energy in that game. Fantastic game for the Moccasins, who improved to 11-8-5. Zydeco, 16-6-3. There's a little bit more to that story. because of the second game, which we'll talk about in a bit, but I'm going to talk about the first one first. All right, so the first game of the day, 3:05 puck drop. Who thought of that? All right, so Port Huron travels down to Motor City to take on the Rockers. There is a crowd of over 1,000 on hand at Big Boy to watch this game. And I tell you what, if Port Huron could play Motor City all year round, the whole year, uh, that would suit them just fine because 5 of their 11 wins have come against the Rockers. Amazing. I did not expect this. As a matter of fact, I predicted a Rockers win in this game. Didn't happen. Nusiainen plays well, stops 30 of 33. Ricardo Gonzalez, he's still in the starter's role because Babin is gone. There is Bryn Sommerfeld as a backup now, signed a standard contract. But the shots 20-7 in that first period. Port Huron just dominated that first period. So anyway, in the second, things even out a little bit, 15-13, but the game's still awfully wide open. So Gonzalez takes the loss, stops 39 of 46. Tucker Scantlebury on the power play ends up with the game-winning goal at 10:56 of the second period. At that point, it gave Port Huron a 4-2 lead. So we had the little drama. Now, got to rewind a little bit. If you remember, last Friday, Sotiris Karageorgis, as I talked about in the video then, got targeted, got ejected from the game, gets a 1-game suspension. He serves that suspension on Saturday. And normally, the day after the player suspension ends, the league immediately announced Sotiris Karageorgis returned from suspension, or Dustin Gisso, or whoever the player is, returned from suspension. That didn't happen. And Sunday goes by, and Monday goes by, and we get into Tuesday afternoon, and there's still no posting regarding Sotiris Karageorgis. But he had served his suspension, so he dresses. Problem is, he did not show up on the official game sheet. So he technically is considered an ineligible player. About 15 minutes of the way into the game, Chris Paulin and Matt Graham from the Prowlers bench say, hey, Carro George shouldn't be out here. So the officials ask him to leave, did not assess a penalty. Now, because normally, if you play an ineligible player, you get assessed a 2-minute minor. That didn't happen. So everybody knows something's going on. End of the first. Okay, at that point, Port Huron's up. And then the announcement comes through on the league transaction site. Carro George returned from suspension. So suddenly, bam, he shows up on the game sheet because he was declared by the Rockers before the game. But it was just that technical error. He's not marked off suspension, so he doesn't show up on the game sheet. Now, second period, he's on the game sheet, so he's allowed to come back and play. So I think that's the end of the whole Carro George's saga, but it's just weird, man. Really, really weird. Anyway, so with the game, Motor City is now 10-12-1. Port Huron climbs in the third spot in the Empire Division by virtue of their win. They're 11-11-3. They leapfrog over the idle Danbury Hat Tricks. There was a lot of angst in this game. Final game of the night, and this was the late game. I watched the first period, and my body said, "You're old. You need some sleep." So, it was the Thunderbirds just dominating, absolutely dominating. Let me get on the right page here. It's Hunter Verostic in goal for the Bobcats. Mario Cavaliere in goal for the Carolina Thunderbirds. And Carolina Thunderbirds say, no Gus Ford? No problem. We got Zach White. We also have Jan Salak. Salak ends up with a night. He ends up 3 points on the night, a goal and 2 assists, which means he got 300 points as a Thunderbird. He has 358 points in his Fed career, but 300 points with one team, that's a fantastic accomplishment. Congratulations to Jan Salak. He got the opening goal. No, I'm sorry. It was Peter Panachik getting the opening goal at 2:19. That's the game-winning goal. But Salak had an assist on that. Salak scored later in the period. It was 2-0 after one, and the Thunderbirds never looked back. Sellout crowd there, 3150. So we had 3 sellout crowds last night for New Year's Eve, which is great. That's why the Fed does these New Year's Eve games. All right, so for the game, Verostic, he saves 24 out of 29, despite being badly outshot. Blue Ridge just poured it on after the first period. Shots were 11 aside after one. In the second period, Blue Ridge pours on 19 shots on Mario Cavaliere. He turns aside every single one of them, as well as the 15 shots he faced in the third. So Cavaliere now has 4 shutouts. I know. On the Fed website, it says 5. I don't know why everyone has been saying to the league, you got that wrong. It's one less, but whatever. So, so Cavaliere, 4th shutout of the year. His already stellar numbers look even more stellar now. Not the night for Verostic, but Zach White had a goal and assist as well. And guess what, everyone? By virtue of earlier the Zydeco's loss and Carolina's win, the Thunderbirds are now alone in first place. Mind you, it is only by a single point, but Carolina in first place with a record of 15-3-3. The Blue Ridge Bobcats fall to 11-9-2. Amazing night. Carolina sitting alone first. Obviously, these teams were inactive, idle last night. They will be on the ice on Friday. We have a full slate of games coming up this weekend. So that's our game recap for this New Year's Day. Don't forget, this afternoon I'm going to be doing a second video, and this is going to be power rankings. Now, the power rankings, I have to mention it here, were not, they were done before last night's games. So, and I'll address that also in that video, but that'll be dropping about mid-afternoon. Okay, anyway, thank you so much for watching. Again, Happy New Year to all of you, and I hope you have a wonderful and prosperous 2025. I'm Gary Ryan for the Fed League Flash, and we'll see you soon.